Over the past few months, Justin's been requesting me on Patreon to review the Indiana Jones movies, and I've now reached the fourth one, Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. I really like this movie, and many years ago I actually did a defense of it, although it's no longer online, so you could consider this a remake of that earlier video. I was very excited to see this movie before its release, having gotten into the Indiana Jones films about 5 years earlier, although I get excited anytime Steven Spielberg has a new film coming out. It lived up to my expectations, and I found myself surprised at the backlash it eventually received. For me, the Indiana Jones movies have always served as escapist, unrealistic adventures, and this continued that. They're meant to be silly B-movie serials, and Crystal Skull maintained that tradition. It was wonderful to see Harrison Ford back in the role after so many years, and while he's still performing all these wild stunts, the film does acknowledge his age, something Ford himself pushed for. There's such a joyfulness on display when he puts on the hat, which is evident right from the opening scene in the warehouse. The other characters also do a lot to liven up the film. I love the decision to bring back Karen Allen as Marion Ravenwood. None of his other female co-stars ever matched up to her, something even this film acknowledges. Ford and Allen play off each other well as they have this unusual catch-up, and Allen still retains the spark that made Marion such an endearing character in Raiders of the Lost Ark. I thought Cate Blanchett made for a fantastic villain, with her Soviet agent Irina Spalko proving a solid opponent. Blanchett clearly relishes the opportunity to play this old-school type of villain, and she leaves an impression. This film also introduces Indy's son Mutt, played by Shia LaBeouf. I thought LaBeouf did a good job in the role. They found a good balance in making him resourceful while also still having him learn from Indy. The script manages to nicely evolve their relationship from Mutt initially doubting Indy's usefulness to seeing his chops in the adventure to getting annoyed at him being his real father to the eventual warming up. They do set him up to join Indy on further potential adventures, but that's never going to happen now, partly because a certain someone thought it was a good idea to publicly insult Steven Spielberg. His issue with Spielberg, he came on set well prepared and knew exactly what he wanted from a scene. Isn't that what a director's supposed to be? I thought the action sequences in Crystal Skull provided a huge amount of fun. The film already begins with a bang with a warehouse scene. The motorcycle chase through the Marshall College campus is also excellent with some wonderful stunt work. The highlight of the movie comes from the jungle chase. Spielberg has so much fun jumping the characters from one vehicle to the next as they try to get a hold of the Crystal Skull. Even with a lot going on, the whole thing feels focused, and it's a good example of how Spielberg is one of the best directors when it comes to blocking and editing action scenes. A lot of people have griped about the part where Mutt swings on some vines, but I've never had an issue with this. They're in this big action sequence in the jungle. Why not throw in a Tarzan homage? I also like how much of the movie is like a puzzle, with Indy and other characters trying to figure out the meanings behind certain symbols and drawings as they inch closer to putting the crystal skull in its rightful place. So we get these great scenes in skull-filled catacombs and Amazon temples. Through it all, we get yet another delightful score from John Williams, with him again utilizing the classic themes, along with composing some new ones. I guess I should address some of the more divisive elements of Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. It seems like nobody can talk about this movie without bringing up the infamous fridge scene. It's often considered by many to be the nadir of the entire franchise, but I personally think it's a great scene. It's keeping right in line with the cliffhanger serials Indiana Jones is meant to be an homage to, as we're constantly thinking how he's going to get out of this situation. People seem to take a lot of issue with the improbability of Indy surviving this nuclear blast in a fridge. This despite the series being full of improbabilities and Indy constantly finding himself in unrealistic scenarios that he has to get out of. Need I remind you he fell out of an airplane in a raft and managed to survive the fall without a scratch. Then there's the fact that crystal skulls are related to aliens. Even Spielberg, who has said he is pleased with the film overall, has never liked the aliens. However, George Lucas was insistent on using that plot element in the movie. Personally, I've never minded the aliens, mainly because the film is obviously meant to be an homage to 1950s B-movies, similar to how the first three Indiana Jones movies were paying tribute to cliffhanger serials from the 30s. And the popular B-movies from that decade were usually science fiction affairs with invading aliens or other monsters, often meant to represent the fear people had of a nuclear fallout or the Soviet Union. So to me it made sense that was the route taken with Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, and was not bothered by it. One aspect I will criticize the film for is the character of Mac, aka the double agent. I don't think he added that much to the adventure, and I feel you could have cut him out without losing anything. Overall, I do greatly enjoy the movie and find it delivers in the B-movie joys it's attempting. I don't know what it is about Lucasfilm productions that people seem to take way too seriously. Almost every film produced by Lucasfilm, whether it's Indiana Jones, or Star Wars, or Willow, or even Radioland Murders, is often born out of George Lucas wanting to bring back something he loved from his childhood. The Indiana Jones franchise is purposely silly and just meant to take the audience on a wild adventure of all sorts of stunts and fantastical elements. I think Kingdom of the Crystal Skull absolutely delivered on that front. Next summer we'll see the release of the 5th Indiana Jones movie, and I'm really excited for it. Even though Steven Spielberg is not directing, James Mangold is a very good filmmaker, and I think he's a good choice to handle Indy in what is said to be Harrison Ford's last outing in the role. Now let me know in the comments what you think of Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, and thank you for the request, Justin.